Just a Thought, a show that starts with a simple premise and explores how different people view different subjects. The greatest philosophies, the most revolutionary changes, and the greatest inventions. And all of them started with just a thought.
Hello, hello, hello.
What it do, what it do, what it do. The doors are open on this Good Friday, and we are so grateful for those who were able to tap in with us at this 7:05 p.m. As always, we are hitting you up from the 202, the 810, and beyond. And we got our first hello on the board. Hey, Maria Carter. Good to see you. Felicia Martinez, thank you for tapping in. Always a pleasure to have family in here. I like to refer to this moment that we have on Fridays as a surviving apocalypse hotline. Do you need support? We're here to provide that to you from the 202. What it do, Georgia boy? Thank you for tapping in. Thank you for tapping. And we're going to share it out. And let me discuss some of the housekeeping rules as we are on here. As always, I am one of your hosts, Yogi G, and to my left, maybe your right, is Anna. And we are happy to be here from the 202. And I always answer the question, whether you asking it or not, why are people from the 202 on 810 News Media Group? Now, Trevor and Mickey would say because 810 is nationwide, and we know that to be true, especially if you're checking out the 810 morning bump Monday through Friday. You'll see you get all people from all areas that are concerned about what's happening in our communities, and how I often say in the chat that it doesn't matter where you are. It's the same playbook, just different players. So a part of our housekeeping norm is we also like. So if you are visiting us here for the first time or you have been family with us since we've been on, we need you to hit that like button. And then we also need you to share it that know what's happening in the nation's capital. All right, we got Fab Queen Warrior 6769. Hello, happy Friday. Please give us honesty on the third world ward turnout. Man, Fab Queen, we'll give you some of our perspectives outside in, but we don't touch too much into it because that's not our backyard. The good people of Flint could tell you better than we could. Good evening, Sher Allen. Great to see you. Uh-oh. Okay, we got the man himself, Mr. Spracy Sparkles, holding us down inside of the chat. And let's see. All right, I think that's everybody. All right. Go ahead, on in 1 second.
Go ahead. Well, we can talk about before we start off. Yogi G, just say a little bit about my week and some things that in our city that we kind of like been through. So all this week, I've pretty much been doing a lot of back to school. I know school for us doesn't start until the last week of August. And look at Alexander in the back. Looks like my child, Lily, would be in the back of me if she could. That's why I made sure I'm like this. But this week was, this week was good. A lot of advocacy, and a lot of going around the city and seeing the needs, and seeing that the cry is still out there for our educational justice. So I'm glad to be a part of it in my daily, work. But Yogi, you could go.
Oh, I'm scrambling. I'm scrambling for my life. I'm fighting for my life out here in these streets, okay? Next time y'all see me, this pro gonna be a little further up and the eyebrows gonna be completely gone because I'm stressed. And if we're talking about DC school system, those who know that we are definitely having our struggles in representation of quality educational opportunities. I am trying to get my now rising sixth grader into a middle school that's not going to have me getting a phone call from the police saying that he got beat up, and him being wanted like he's going into a junior version of jail, or sending him into a space that's going to have me feel like I'm moving first class row seat into oppression. and dealing with the Wahites. We got our selective ones, but we got some real detrimental ones here in DC. So um, that's how my journey with education is going these days. Highly stressful and kind of timely for where we're going, or maybe not in the conversation today. Thank you, Mickey. Thank you for sharing it out. I don't know how many people we got watching us, but go ahead and hit that like button, would you please? And don't forget, A10 definitely loves $5 Fridays. We want to make sure that we hashtag pay the producers around here. So we should find it in your the Blessed A10 Media Group. Make sure you do what you do. Okay, so I guess Anna, where, where, where we at? I see. Look, now I feel like Winston and Nikki. Now we're gonna have this dialogue. Why you in that phone? What we doing? What we talking about?
I'm over here going through my senior stage of life. Okay, you're not where I'm at yet. So I be trying to remember what I'm doing half the damn day. You get to this age, you be like, okay, what we doing? Wait a minute, give me a minute. Can I see? You see these glasses? I gotta keep putting these cheap reading glasses on. All right, but we are going to let's just say this, Yogi. Before we started, talk about where we was just at, and then I could chime in. So where were we just at?
All right, so Anna and I took a little field trip over into the neighborhood, and we ended up going to Rita's. I don't know if they had that over in Flint or any other space, but it's a nice little custard spot. And over here in Ward 5, our Rita's is Black owned because it's a franchise. And so while we were there, we happened to run into one of our ANC commissioners. And I can't give you the acronym for ANC. We got a lot of acronyms floating around DC. So Anna can educate the people on what an ANC commissioner is per its acronym. But we just had a collective conversation. A lot of us don't, okay, Maria Carter, wait a minute, my ADD has an announcement. She said, keep moving in the direction of the babies. We need strength in the community. Proud supporter. Maria Carter, we thank you for the $20 super sticker. Absolutely. And that's what we're here for. Because like Whitney used to say, what about the children? So we are still on topic. We ended up having a conversation with a few DC natives and some DC native adjacent about this very topic that we're going to bring to you today. Agent Orange has a new announcement. I got to get some props around here. Your president, not my president, Donald Agent Orange Trump decided that he wanted to take another stab at federalizing DC or threatening us with federalization. And if you know anything, we've been talking about how DC has this lovely slogan that's called taxation without representation. That simply means that we still pay the king's ransom without any recognition. And that's not right because we are a functioning city that we have a mayor, we have a council. Now, King Bow Bow might not be worth much in my eyes, but God damn it, she's not King Trump. And so if that happens, then we're in bigger trouble than what we've been in since 2015, since King Bow Bow has been reigning over our necks. And so we had a assault that happened maybe a few months ago. Trevor's going to put up the article for us where there was a former Doge member who was assaulted during a carjacking. And so now they have been shooting around this picture of this young man bloody and beaten. And they have put it on our DC children being savages and delinquents and all of the brilliant words that come in the Donald Trump dictionary. And, I thought him and Elon weren't friends anymore, but Elon popped up on the scene in X-Land and he said that DC needs to be federalized. And so we have now earned ourselves. At first, we told you about how we had the juvenile curfew that was ever more extending in all the pockets of wealth. So now this weekend, if you are visiting us in the nation's capital, you will see a heavy, heavy, heavy law enforcement presence, more than we have ever seen before. Georgia boy, you right. Trump, an orangutan. He said it, not me. I'm walking these DC streets and I ain't got paper nor money to get to disappear. So
that's what Jasmine Crockett called him the other day, an orange orangutan.
well, good for her. We don't need two of us on the line. But yeah, that's the long and the short of it. So it has your senior moment evaporated now? Because we need a little interaction.
Did I have a video with it?
Yeah, no, you said NPR. I brought you to NPR. NPR. Better
You're gonna
production
stop
value
me
than
on my
NPR.
NPR.
No, I'm not.
National Public Relations.
Yeah. You
I'm
want to
being
know
funny.
what the name
National
before
Public Radio.
public relations was?
I'm being funny.
Propaganda. They literally just changed the name because it had a negative connotation.
At this
Love
point,
you.
all media got negative. Where's it at? He gonna put it on.
Good evening, Tawana 1380. Thank you for joining us. And the wonderful, beautiful Deborah Luna. I've heard such wonderful things. Thank you for taking the time to join us as we are looking for this video of what we were talking about. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts on all of that, Anna.
Well, two things. My first thought is, does everybody know who Doge is and what those young guys were doing in the federal government? Because I know that y'all are not here. Some of y'all are a little further away from us. And so your media might have gave you some false information. So do people know who Doge was and the trauma that they created when they came to DC? So a lot of you might know, of course, they're connected to Elon Musk, but there were a bunch of young boys who literally, just like on January 6th, they went into every federal government agency, even down to the Department of Education, and locked the doors. They wouldn't even let the Congress or the Senate even come in. So Doge came in, pretty much stole all the information, and then they came on out. Now, does that justify what happened to this Doge guy? No. So supposedly he gets carjacked, according to what they're saying on there. But the issue is, how many people get carjacked? And so to make this one particular incident a big thing. But the worst part of it is that he did not get carjacked from a Washingtonian, a DC native, or even a person that lives in DC. And so to use that one little incident and then to turn around and try to make a decision is just diabolical, in my opinion, Yogi G.
Yeah, I don't know what more to say about it. They've been using violence, whether it is something that the community is reflecting on its own, or whether it's something that's being generated by government to justify dismantling our communities. I think for me, being a mother of 3 young Black males, especially in a city that is not protected by holding its own governance, by being an actual state, I'm ever more alarmed by just some of the policies and the shifts that are coming on our local side, not so much what's coming from the Capitol. Because we know that a lot of things are happening in the rooms that we're not privy to most often than not. It looks like Trevor found us some video footage. So I'm going to hold that last thought so we can catch up.
I'm Christine Frizzau in Washington, D.C., a city President Trump says needs new management. He's calling out recent violence and making the case crime is out of control. We break down the numbers and take a look at how realistic a federal takeover actually is. This was the scene in Southeast Washington, D.C. earlier this week following yet another shooting.
It happened Friday night. Boom, 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 boom. They ain't hit nobody, but tape everywhere. It happened Saturday night. Boom, 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 boom. Retaliation.
Scenes like this providing fodder for former Fox News host turned U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Janine Pirro.
Our job is to get guns off the street, drugs off the street, take care of those individuals who are threatening, carjacking other people, and make this city safe and clean again. You don't buy into it, you're going to have to deal with us.
Us, it turns out, could be the federal government, which partially funds D.C. President Trump once again threatening to exert his powers and federalize the city, posting this picture of the former Doge employee Edward Korestein, who told police he was surrounded by 10 juveniles outside his car.
I have to say that somebody from Doge was very badly hurt last night. You saw that. A young man who was beat up by a bunch of thugs in D.C. And either they're going to straighten their act out in the terms of government and in terms of protection, or we're going to have to federalize and run it the way it's supposed to be run.
Elon Musk appears to agree. While D.C. crime rates have fluctuated, the homicide rate had been on a steady climb until 2024. And while it dropped about 32% from 2023 to 2024, experts say D.C. remains among the most dangerous cities in the country, with the fourth highest murder rate.
If you're not putting gun offenders in prison, you're going to have more gun offenders who commit murders. This is 8th grade logic.
Now, a total federal takeover of D.C. would have to involve Congress overturning a 1973 law referred to as home rule, and that's pretty unlikely. But there are other methods President Trump could employ, including a temporary takeover of D.C.'s police force and bringing up the National Guard without consent from local leaders. I'm Christine Frizzau reporting.
So I've got nothing to add.
Wait a minute, Trevor.
Okay.
You know, I'm sitting here astonished. I know you picked that as the one to use, but my mouth is just like extremely, like, I'm irritated right now. Just my thoughts. The fact that particular heritage, Jesus Christ help us, was the spokesperson to talk. Wait a minute, Trevor. Was the person to speak on behalf of what needs to happen in D.C. does not even possibly even live in D.C. Like I said the other day, Janine Pirro came to an event. It was MPD all night, and it was at Ward 4, and it was for an event to bring, all the kids out to talk about what's going on in our community and kind of like just a welcoming of who the police are, the FBI, just a welcoming in the community. And it was filled with kids, and it was a nice event. And the truth is that when they brought Janine Pirro in there, the things that she said out of her mouth, my mouth is still shocked. Instead of coming into a city and being a person to now is new to the city, not someone is from the city, her way of talking to us was talking down to us. And her first thing she said, I am here to make sure that we are going to be safe. And I'm going to make sure that I have all the power to stop anything that is not safe. We're going to make DC beautiful and safe. And I'm sorry, but for me as a person living in DC, when you say safe and beautiful, what you're saying is gentrification, moving out, and you're automatically assuming that it's unsafe to live in DC. Now, we have Baltimore. If you look at the stats of Baltimore now's crime rate has went down by, huge, with a young Black mayor. The truth is it's in the leadership, it's in the access, and it's in the community. And I'm going to stop there because just to watch this woman stand there on that thing and act like she's going to do something, she ain't nothing but an idiot from Fox News who for so many years sat on that show with the most idiocy conversation that anyone could have. Go ahead, Yogi G. I'm sorry.
Nah, I know Trevor was speaking up. What were you going to say, Trevor?
I was just saying, I was trying to look for a source that was much friendlier. That was the first one that wasn't Fox. So yeah. I think that one was like a NBC, and I figured NBC would be a lot more not that. And then, yeah.
Nah, that's
you guys don't have like local friendly news there, do you?
No,
it's not about the source you pick. It's the conversation that they said out of their mouth. So to have NBC sit there and use three people who are so against DC, and now they're being put in charge to paint the narrative. I was just earlier driving around and I said to Yogi G, I said, in DC is the only place that I've ever been to that the energy is different around the whole city. And it makes me question, why is that? Why is that when you ride around this city, you have different energy in every space? And it boils down to access. And it boils down to our badass water, excuse my French, in certain areas. And it boils down to how our kids are educated in DC. That's what it boils down to. I did send you a video on, I don't know if you can pull it up, Trevor, from a friend of mine's in the community. Yogi G knows him too. And I sent you that. You could put on a little bit of that. And then after that goes off, Yogi G, just go for it, because, oh my God, when I saw Heritage on there, it's a bad taste.
What's up, MH Corsi? Thank you for tapping in. H-Spag, thank you for tapping in. No Games, what up, fam? And Deborah said, did that lady have a judge on TV? Absolutely. We are living in a reality show right now, but our reality is a little more detrimental because we're crime central of being in the apocalypse center. So yeah.
And when they get out of that, they are gonna burn your ass up, and it ain't gonna be nothing that we can do. But they say we gave y'all a chance, like really and truly. I just think that's very, very important.
And that's why we on this motherfucker. We ain't just talking about shit just to be talking. We trying to save motherfucker lives, man. Especially our young men and women, man, brothers and sisters, man. This shit is serious, man.
It's not a game.
And we know with the Republicans, they already got the House. If they get the presidency or get the Senate, you think tough laws that fucked me around was in place. That shit is coming back more strong.
And they not gonna be trying to hear no Tony Lewis Jr. talk about, man, nah, that ain't right. Yeah. Because not when the baby getting shot, not when grandma's getting carjacked. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to hear that. Ain't nobody gonna be trying to hear that. You know, and I'm already feeling that.
Yeah.
And
go ahead, Yogi G.
I mean, so when I do my community work and we're asked to do our introductions, you will often hear me say in the community that Ward 7 made me, Ward 8 raised me, and Ward 5 houses me. And why that's important, why I choose to name that, is because Ward 7 is considered to be a diverse community, meaning we have a case of the have and the have-nots. You go from one end of Ward 7 and seeing the middle-class homes with the pools in the back, the mini mansions, and thriving community. And then if you go further down in Ward 7, and for people who know DC, in the Bennett Road, Clayhurst, Lincoln Heights area, then you'll see definitely the impacts of years of just kind of non-investment, unintentional follow-up and accountability from our DC council or our DC leadership. And Ward 8 is, or they like to say, cousin. Shout out to Ward 8. They just made it official for Council Member Trayon White, who you've heard us talk about his journey back into becoming the Ward 8 council member. He was just confirmed and sworn in today. So shout out to Ward 8 for exercising their right to vote. But Ward 8 is dealing with some real issues, are highly impacted by some of that crime that they talk about. But they have a community that is centered around healing and finding space to have conversations with our youth to be able to figure out what is it that they need in order to change some of the way that they are expressing their anger and fatigue with not having access to some of the quality living conditions that they have uptown. And then Ward 5 is a bit of a mixture of both. So it's something similar to what I described for Ward 7. It's just a little more affluent in interns and, the 20-something years old that are coming bright and bushy-eyed to sit and do some time at the Capitol. That being said, another component that never gets talked about but should really be highlighted when we're trying to loop in violence and it being youth-based is that we're literally the center of the DMV. That means that we are a bus stop, train ride away from either somewhere far off in Maryland or somewhere deep into Virginia. So how can you say that this is specifically a DC crime issue when you can't prove, like even when they talked about the assault of the young man that they're using to spearhead some of this this trashing of the DC narrative, it was the police immediately put out there that the two perpetrators that they found were located from Hyattsville, Maryland, not DC specific. And yet none of that gets highlighted. It doesn't get talked about in the media. As Trevor pointed out, we do not have a media source outside of like our local newspapers that will be the elevated voice of a different perspective. And then you talk about how we had the issue with the police officer that we talked about maybe 2 Fridays ago, where they had the captain, was he a captain? And then they tried to say that he was violating some ethical rules by changing the stats on the status of us having safe crime. So we have that's also percolating in the news. Then we have that our youth are taking over in our highly wealthy areas. So it's just a whole bag of lies that are coming down that nobody's really digging into, but all of it is centered around how can they get their hands back on DC being a federalized city so that it can be the nation's capital and not a functioning standalone space. I mean, that's all I got on it.
You know, this thing just popped up. I guess the Commanders are playing tonight. We're in preseason, and it just threw me off. That stuff just drives me crazy. I'm not going to be funny with you. It drives me ballistic. It's one of the conversations that are very hard for me to have when I see people talk about safety in the way they do. They use it as if everyone is a criminal and they coming to save us. And the reality is that DC has been going through this since the early 90s. I've been in DC in the 90s. And here it is, you're coming in and supposedly you got the right idea, but it's a little bit further than that. Can you talk about that part where I can't remember exactly how you said it? I know we talked about it when we was talking about, right? So like right now in Texas, right? Senator, I forgot the senator's name. She just said, can you stop worrying about the redistricting, the lines, but can you worry about the floods? Can you worry about the floods? Can you make sure that the people that have been flooded out are taken care of? Then you worry about some redistricting. And earlier when we was at Rita's and we were talking to Joyce and I forgot his name. What was the very thing you were talking about when we said about flooding? And you were like, if I'm east of the river, the difference than from where we're at right now.
Yeah, I was educating the people about the structure of DC and just how this has been going, something that's been by design since the 1600s when we were an indigenous area before we even got all these labels of so-called District of Columbia. And so the way that it was colonized is that all of the wealthier families or businesses were built on the upper end of the District of Columbia, which includes like the parts of Virginia, that's the Georgetowns and the Columbia Heights, even somewhere in those areas. And then when you talk about the area that we consider east of the river, because they knew that was a flood land, they intentionally pushed everyone that were lower end or low income or poverty stricken into Ward 7 and 8. And what that looks like in today's time, because we're going through all of these different climate crises, is that there is a real chance that if we should ever get a tsunami or any of those things that have been on alert for the past couple of weeks, that our city is going to be wiped away. At least it's starting with the port. Think of it like this in a visual, because I'm a movie buff, right? If you have seen the movie Titanic, and remember when it started to sink, and everybody that was on the bottom of the boat pretty much had zero chance to be able to make it out of there. Welcome to DC, Titanic DC edition. That's exactly what we're going to be dealing with. And so because we have a delegate, Eleanor Holmes Norton, who is there, she is trying to, I think she's trying to run for her seat again. And mind you, we told you we don't have a voice. We have representation, but we do not have a voice, a voting voice in the capital as the District of Columbia. she now is starting to tap into FEMA now that it's been kind of defunded and all of these things to try to figure out if we should have a climate related crisis. What would that mean for us as the District of Columbia? And they discovered, and Trevor, maybe you'll see this somewhere. I didn't, think about this, but they discovered that we don't have enough water source to be able to survive maybe like even a month for the amount of people that are in the District of Columbia. So that's just a little tidbit on a lot of the levels of how DC is really in the gap of survival if it's not depending on what's coming out of the Capitol. Looks like you got it, Trevor. Wait, I learned the trick. I need to expand it. But if you could read it, Trevor, my eyes.
Yes, the Washington, D.C. area is currently facing drought conditions and a potential water shortage. D.C. Water is urging residents to conserve water due to low river flow of the Potomac River, their primary water source. The area is experiencing below average rainfall and the river's flow is near record lows.
Now, mind you, thank you, Trevor. Words are hard, and when you got DC Medicaid, your eyeballs and your eyesight, it gets even harder. But once again, this is the nation's capital, right? And we've been chocolate city, as you heard Mickey say, but I had to correct the reverend and let him know we are not as chocolate in the city as we have been. And certainly when we were, these are issues that have been over decades existing. And it's not until now that we're all hitting and dealing in the apocalypse that we're now getting to recenter on what it means to have people that were standing in the gap to call themselves leaders in your community, right? And I'd like to add, in addition to us having a water shortage, they just sent out some news articles about the potential of us from the last couple of weeks that we had in July of constant rain, that there's a possibility that we have an overflow of waste that they're going to reintroduce into our Anacostia River. And not to mention, we were just paid off $51 million from Pepco, which is our energy company for the District of Columbia, which were also illegally dumping toxins into our Anacostia River. And they just came up because they increased the rates on us as district residents. So they made $101 million back. So not only did they pay us minimal for poisoning our community, but they got double what they had to pay off, all within maybe a little short of a year. Ain't it great? Living in America is wonderful. And living in the District of Columbia is even better. And I'm being completely sarcastic for those who haven't tracked it. What's up, Carolyn Hendricks? Thank you for joining the party. And I'm going to see CC. I'm going to go with CC. And if that's not correct, please charge it to my head and not my heart. And reading is definitely hard, as one day we'll tell you about just how troublesome our DC education is. Let's see, 7:37. We still got some time.
So, according to DC, as to when we were talking about the water, and I think Flint has similarities. And I cannot say these big words, but the first one is easy. We have nitrates in our water currently. And do y'all know what nitrates are? Trevor, you know what nitrates are? And what is it in water?
I'm sorry, what you said?
Nitrates. Do you know what nitrates that are in water?
Not me personally. That must be a question for chat.
So, nitrate in water is linked to cancer. And so when you hear talking about us getting studies for people as to why cancer is up in DC, our tap water is contaminated. And that's one of the things that are in there. We also have, while it says 90% of the homes in DC has had lead or to exceed the limit. According to EPA, lead should be 0, but that's not accurate. We are at 90% of our homes literally have lead pipes. What do you think those lead pipes are, Yogi G?
Dangerous. I don't know. Tell me. I'm learning with chat.
So, the lead pipes are literally east of the river, Ward 7, Ward 8, and they're generally connected. The way the pipes were, I guess, because when the area was built, like we were talking about the ground and the being lower ground, most areas that were hit, I don't know if you remember when around the shrimp boat, when they closed that area down for a long time, when they were rebuilding the pipes for the water to come down because it was a lot of flood, which leads up to the RFK. And so those areas of those houses, still a lot of those houses didn't get the help for them to get their pipes changed. So we are still currently right now, and even in my neighborhood was another neighborhood right here in Bates area, Hanover area. Most of that, probably 85% of the houses still have lead pipes. Another thing with DC, I don't know, let me ask y'all, in Flint, when there is something, well, this sounds crazy, when something's wrong with the water and the powers that be knows that something's going on, do they text you? Do they call you? Do they send you a boil alert? In DC, most of the time when boil alerts go out, they're usually 24 hours later. So the average person has now drank that water, has taken a shower, or possibly hasn't even gotten the message that we're on boil alert. Those are things that are currently going on right here in DC. So when we're talking about the water, and then the other thing was, you said it the other day, the Anacostia River. What were you talking about the Anacostia River with the dumping?
I just said it that they were going to be dumping waste into the Anacostia River because they have an overflow. Just want to highlight Sher Allen said yes, but Flint's poison water was man-made, and then she answered your question about how they contacted. Said yes, they call us.
Sorry, my internet went down. So just going back with the part of talking about just a thought with the water issues that we have here and the lead and our educational problems. Do y'all think, and just put it out there, do you think that these things contribute to violence in our communities? Or do you think our violence in our communities have nothing to do with the environment? Just a thought.
Well, I'll type in while chat make up their mind. I think that absolutely scientifically you can prove that the conditions or the outcomes that you see in behaviors in any community can be attributed to the access to clean water, clean air, things of that nature. And not to mention that while we do have, like, DC is not completely innocent, right? I will say that we do have our pockets of violence, and sometimes it is our youth. And I will often say that we have a lot of spaces that have not addressed the root cause. Like Anna mentioned earlier, when they're talking about the effects that they're having or the outcomes that they're having in Baltimore, that's because they have chosen to address the root cause. And a lot of times, especially in my opinion, I speak from a place of I because it's safer that way. A lot of times when we have Black leadership, we have this thing with the bootstrap mentality keeping us as a guideline. If I made it, you can make it. If I made it with nothing, you can find something and you can make it with nothing too, which is absolutely ridiculous. Especially if you're a student of history and you understand just how this system that we're existing in today was crafted, just specifically because they did not want to recognize us as human beings. They had a hard time, they being those who formerly owned my peoples, they had a hard time with thinking that we were human beings. And so if we had to fight for our Constitution to be amended several times to even recognize women as being standalone people, children being standalone people, Black women, like all these different subgroups that make up the melting pot of America. If we had to fight to do that, what makes you think that we don't have to still address some of those issues that came from years and decades of neglect of honoring that we have a voice and we have things that we need in our communities. So, I mean, I don't see Felicia Martinez. She said, I agree with that theory. And Sher Allen, if you can highlight that for me, Trevor. She says, I think the lead in the water affects the brain cells, which contributes to violent behavior in children. We're going to have to find somebody who has the credentials. You know, DC love credentials. If you got a BA, an MA, you could be a doctor and not be able to say nobody's life and still be on 1,001 panels and be called a leader. So we're going to have to find somebody one day to chat it up with us, poor common folks, and help us understand what that means. What did they say? Because words are hard. All right, Trevor, what you got? Go ahead and hit us with your reading voice.
Yes, there is a strong correlation between lead exposure and increased rates of violence, particularly violent crime. This correlation, often referred to as the lead crime hypothesis, suggests that early childhood exposure to lead can lead to cognitive and behavioral issues that increase the likelihood of criminal behavior later in life, including violent acts. This was, if I take it down now, this was first found by Mr. Kettering, the man who the engineering college in Flint is named after, when he made leaded gasoline to stop engine knock. They found that 20 years after he invented leaded gasoline, or tetranyl leaded carbonate or something like that, that violence crimes in the city of Flint had skyrocketed 20 years later. Strange.
Man, listen, you don't have to be a rocket scientist, you know, but you do have to be somebody that likes to open up some form of literature that may have existed before you got here. Because, you know, maybe people have lived out a life or two and maybe have left the notes and the keys to what to watch out for. And it sounds like that brother did some digging to see whether or not the thought that we put out there today exists. And it sounds like we might be onto something. All right, we're going to hear from Kawana. Let's get her highlighted up here. I can read this. It says, yes, the environment affects your health, state of mind, and how you're treated as far as funding that comes in the community where you live. We didn't say it, you know, chat said it. And as always, I encourage anybody that thinks otherwise to, one, keep engaging us in the conversation. We are not the experts. We are just impacted by some of this shit. And if you come up with some facts and you want to share it, you know where to go. Go share it out in the A10 bubble, and Trevor or Mickey or anybody, make sure we get to it, and we'll bring it up for debate. You know. Damn, now I'm having the damn same moment.
No, I just think about, like, you know, like with us, we do advocacy and education, and like real talk, Yogi G. Like, you know, like when you made your decision to put your child in what school you put your child in, right? Mm-hmm. And I look at like the decisions, like we rock with a group, and we kind of like somewhat all agree with what we're putting out there. And I think like the older that I get, the more I start to, the older that I get, the more things is like, I don't really care. I don't really care if that's your only thought process. Like it gets to a point where we have to be more open to read more, to understand more, and to search more, but not to be disagreeing because I mess with you or because I know you. And I think that your information is the right information. And so we're at a point where public information is not going to be freely. You're going to have to start searching for the truth. And so how do we get our community, or how do we get our people to start searching? And just going back to this group that we belong to sometimes, that we do advocacy for, you know, I'm at a point where, should I represent something? That's a thought right there. Should I follow something just because the whole group is agreeing, or should I, regardless, be the outcast and be truthful and keep it at all times? Like, I might need to sit this one out because I don't agree with what y'all are pushing. And that's where we're at right now. Where not just one person, many of us can be in a room, and just because we rock with certain people, things are brought up, and then your image, you know, like the screenshot, take a picture of you, and it's like, she agrees with that. And it's getting to that point where it's like, stop coming around for your photo ops. Stop getting in photos just to sit there and put it on your social media. Because what are you really saying when people are looking at your pictures, when you're taking these pictures with these people? Are you being aware of the pictures that you're taking with these people? Your thoughts?
Well, first, let me go ahead and read out what Sher Allen says. She says, Yogi, I believe that due to the way blacks were brutally beaten and treated during slavery, the fear and anger they endured is embedded in our genes and passed down from generation to generation. I, Sher Allen, happen to share in that belief. Outside of that, it skipped a generation, and our youth nation, I'm going to reclaim YN and say our youth nation ain't feeling that messaging, at least not here in DC. Okay, they like, listen, we out here. We know the system is a sham. We watched our parents struggle. We watched our parents getting taken out of the household, not be present. And every space that you told us that we were supposed to go, the job training has only led us to jobs that are not paying money enough to help us take care of our families. It's not keeping our families stabilized. I'm still out here having to fight for my life because I'm in the circle of trauma. It's so many yes ands that reflect into the outcome that we're dealing with in this 2025. So I agree. I agree. Now, to your point, Anna, man, listen, it's my personal belief, double entendre, that the days of polite politics are over, right? We got Congress people on the run right now because people are not being heard in the traditional way. And so, as being somebody who has spent 15 plus years going to the meetings, doing the polite politicking, bowing and curtsying and testifying, I am now in a space where I feel like that the only conversations I want to have are amongst my community members who are making action happen. And when I say making action happen, I mean, like, are you investing into the morals of where we are all in agreement, whether what it don't matter what color, what sex you are, we were all born and gifted the responsibility of taking care of this earth. That means that if you have agricultural skills or engineering skills that's going to help us clean up the water system, improve the air quality, teach our children about gardening. Right now, I'm trying to figure out how to go in the wilderness and not eat a berry that's going to kill me and my family. I don't know how to build a tent. I don't know how to survive outside of these little box walls called apartments and houses that we've been in for the past couple of decades. Like, it's a whole new ball game. So if we're still focusing on how people look or clocking fans, and I'm not saying that we can't have joy, and this is for my black people. Like, I'm not saying we can't find joy through chaos, but let's not take our eye off the prize and realize that, one, I said it before and I'll say it again each and every time, we are at war. Okay, the beginnings of it. And I've never dealt in a space like that before. There are spaces right now that have way more knowledge about how to survive in the apocalypse than what I know my community will have. So that's where my focus is now. You want to find somebody that's kissing babies and shaking hands and still stabbing you in the back, then you deal with the politicians. I'll be with the people, a different kind of people. That's just my thoughts on that. It's 7:53. We got a few more minutes before we have to let the church go.
Anna, we call the FBI friends and brothers-in-laws. When those photo ops pop up claiming they are doing something for the betterment of the residents, but really just getting their bag, man, that is so true.
Personal politics.
Trevor gonna write shaking babies and kissing hands.
Hey, yeah, that part. Yeah, mama. You might catch them showing a little leg depending on what season it is. Especially in DC, we have been deemed as the gayest city in the world. Per our mayor, not my words, her words. We are the gayest city in the world, next in line to being gentrification capital.
Tucson, Arizona would like to have a word.
They can take it out with King Cooper Bowser and follow her on her website of Terra and let her know that you gotta have a word about it. But yeah, I mean, I guess I propose that to the chat, whenever we kick back on here next Friday. If you think that we should still be doing polite politics and still going about business as usual, and we'll get to the promised land by doing that, let us know. Or do you think that it's about time that we pivot off the grid? The revolution shall not be televised, and we need to start having some real conversations about how we're going to find a plot of land and make it work for us. Like Anna got a little bungalow over there, her little, what we call it, her bunker, that she's safely tucked away in right now. Me, I'm still floating around in these streets, and I've said it before. Yogi G is trying to find a new home. It don't have to be DC. I could tell this raggedy ass story from anywhere. But that's where I'm at. Trying to figure out who is really trying to prepare the people to have the skill sets to survive where we're headed. Thank you, Sher Allen. As always, we appreciate your support and tapping in. I don't know. Let's see. Let's ask Trevor. Trevor, you got any thoughts on what we just shared from the back?
Needs to teach us how to shoot, and then we need to go ahead and worry about our cultural and what that guy said, cultural and agriculture. So we need to learn how to plant our own food, because the soil is good.
Well,
go ahead.
So,
Trevor,
if you guys want to learn how to live outside for any amount of time, the first thing you're going to have to do is learn, say, what foods are edible that you can just easily find, right? A good way of doing that is either by learning the universal taste test or watching animals. Universal taste test is like you see a berry, you cut it open, you get a little bit of the juice, and you put it on your forearm. If after a little bit it doesn't burn, I'd say about 20 minutes, burn or itch, then you take a little bit and put it on your lip, just a little dab on the center of your lip. If after 20 minutes it doesn't burn, itch, have any adverse reactions, and you take a little bit and you tap it on your tongue, make sure your throat doesn't feel tingly. After that, you can try to eat it in small amounts. Look, there's a whole bunch of things that just about anyone can teach you, and I know that there's plenty about living in a city that y'all could teach me, right? Like, one is not easier than the other. They're just different.
It's not, but right now, city living ain't going to help me in the wilderness, and that's where we're headed, Trevor. We're headed to the wilderness. They don't want us to live in here. I don't have 200K, and the only place that they not scooping me up in a bulldozer is somewhere in the woods, in the middle. Not yet, anyway. But that don't sound safe. That sounds. I'm gonna have to figure this out. We're gonna have to talk about it. We're gonna bring some experts on here. Trevor is our right hand man on the starter kit. But we want to see how we can get this city living up out of us, so we can go ahead and be some.
I don't know about y'all, but I'm gonna take me a flight and go see my family in Puerto Rico and literally go out and learn how to farm the way my ancestors did, the way they grew their own food. My grandfather would. My great grandfather was 117 when he passed away. He ate everything he literally planted, and it's time. It's time for us to get the green thumb, Yogi G.
Listen,
time to get the green thumb.
As long as you'll take me with you, I'll wave the flag, the Puerto Rican flag.
It's still America. We can go right over there. We don't need no passport. We go over there, we learn, and we come back. And we're going to bring it back and forth. We're going to learn. Because, and there's places in North Carolina that does that. South Carolina. There's places, I don't know about Florida.
Anybody in the chat got a dual citizenship or ever thought about getting dual citizenship? I'm just interested. Somebody had brought that up to me earlier. And I was really trying to figure out if that was the next move.
I had an aunt from Canada that had a dual citizenship. The biggest problem with it was she was having to pay taxes to both countries.
Oh, so I know I can get dual citizenship because in Puerto Rico I can get Spain because I can prove my family was there. So I am able right now. I can go get dual citizenship from Spain. But do I want that? I don't think so. Now, if we go into war like the way they're talking, I don't know, Yogi G.
Oh, that one I can.
It might be just me and the tree trunk and a couple of little pokes. That's the best I got right now with my pocket looking.
I got plenty of space on the property. If things get bad enough, Yogi, we can move you down here, and I will finance a house for you. We can share the property, no problem. We can share the garden. I know how to grow. We're good. And I'm homesteaded, so I can also drop deer anytime we're low on meat.
Look at
Y'all heard it live here. Trevor gonna make sure we okay. All I gotta do is learn how to surf on a piece of bark and hold on to my family long enough to ride the wave from the flood up out of DC down to Florida. That's all I gotta do. And I appreciate you, Trevor.
There we go. It is literally 7:59.
Listen, let me tell you something, good people. Take the time while you have the weekend to make sure that, one, you get yourself in some good company. Have some conversation that's not going to stress you out and make you completely bald around the edges or the eyebrows like myself. If you can, figure out where the circles are, no matter where you are, that are absolutely talking about how to live off the grid, how to get your agricultural skills up. You know, it's the weekend. You got between now and Sunday to figure out a plan on how to survive Trumptopia apocalypse 2025 and beyond. Deborah Luna said, I was born in Turkey, military base. I think I had some kind of permission. You better check on it. Check on your papers. You know, my surname happens to be rooted in Scotland, so I might have to check out what Ireland got going on in Scotland. You know what I mean? All right. So as we close it out, y'all see the banner down there. If you want to follow me, I'm on Instagram at _yogi. If you want to follow us as a collective, Honor and I for Just the Thought on Instagram, you see it right there, Just the Thought DC25. It is just a way for you to keep engaged with us as we move throughout our day. As we said before, Honor and I do advocacy and we do community work, and we keep these conversations going in real time, whether it's Friday or not. We're going to let you good people enjoy your weekend. Thank you for tapping in, everybody that showed up. Please share us out. We love the replay gang, and make sure that you like and subscribe to A10 News Media Group. Peace, family.
Peace.